At the beginning of every railway story, there are steam engines, and Japan is no exception to this. In the early days of Japanese rail, the Japanese did not build their own railways. Instead, they decided to build a railway with the help from the British, using their engineers as well as their steam engine designs. The first railway on Japanese soil was built between Shibashi and Yokohama and opened on September 12, 1872. The Japanese also bought a number of American locomotives. Soon, Japan started building their own locomotives. The most notable of these engines is the D-51. The D-51 was built by a number of manufacturers and was the workhorse of the nation of Japan until 1975 when it was withdrawn from service. A total of 1,115 D-51s were built. These engines' duties included passenger services, freight, and even royal trains. This particular locomotive's duty was to escort the emperor around Japan. The end of steam was inevitable though, and soon steam engines were phased out for newer locomotives. After steam engines were phased out, Japanese railways skipped diesel locomotives and went straight to electric. Only some diesel locomotives are used on Japanese railways. In the early 1950s, Japan started to electrify their rail line. All the private rail companies were also organized in one company called Japanese National Railways. All the private rail companies were also organized into one company called Japanese National Railways. Another group exists called the Japan Railways Group, or JR for short. The JR controls all the main passenger lines that run through the country along with freight operations. There are 9 JR companies that operate on the rail lines in Japan. This is Tokyo Station. It's the biggest railway station in all of Japan. Opened in 1914 and stationed close to the Imperial Palace, Tokyo Station connects most of services provided by JR East. The JR operates on a very tight schedule, with trains arriving within minutes of each other. Being a train driver on the JR is a very stressful job. Drivers have to be on time, otherwise they run the risk of delaying the whole operation. The JR operates a number of high-speed services as well, which brings us to part 3. Japan's high-speed trains are the most impressive in the world. These rail lines have pioneered the high-speed rail industry. Some countries have even implemented high-speed rail lines of their own. None of it would have been possible though if it had not been for this engine. This is a Zero Series Shinkansen, and it was the first train to run on the Shinkansen network of rail lines. The first Shinkansen line was built in 1964, but there had been plans to build a high-speed rail network ever since the 1930s. From Tokyo to Osaka in a normal commuter train, it would have taken around 6 hours for passengers to reach their destination. The time of travel was cut in half on Shinkansen, only taking 3 hours. The Shinkansen also had certain amenities that normal trains did not have, like comfortable seating and restrooms. Since opening in 1968, there have been a number of other Shinkansen lines that have opened across Japan. This is an N700 series Shinkansen, one of the newest trains in the fleet. These trains are also the fastest in the fleet, being able to reach up to 180 miles per hour. The N700 series Shinkansen shares a lot in common with its grandfather, the Zero series. While being faster and more modern, the Shinkansens haven't changed much. These trains still offer comfort and luxuries that no other train on the networks can beat. Japan is still leading ahead of the pack when it comes to high-speed rail. Countries like France have already caught up, but the USA and other countries are still 20 years behind and still have a lot of catching up to do.